Hello and welcome to Drive Facebook Live. I'm Tony Whistler and this is my good friend Bill Escalillo. How's it going, Bill?
Fantastic, Tony. I am very excited about today's show.
We have a great guest. We have Milton Rodriguez of Honest Auto. Hey, Milton, how goes it?
It's going great.
Very cool. Why don't you let everybody know who you are, where your shop is, a little bit about the city you're in?
So, Milton Rodriguez, we're located in Morristown, Tennessee. Business name is Honest Auto. Going into our third year of business. Morristown's a small city in East Tennessee, about an hour east of Knoxville, near the Gatlinburg area. And our town is slowly growing, well, rapidly growing. Seems like every other week they're putting in more businesses, and it's good for my business, that's for sure, because that means more cars on the road.
Very cool. Very cool.
Well, that's awesome to hear, Milton. So, Tony, we have a little bit of a great opportunity here. I've known Milton for almost a year now. Probably in July it'll be a year. And
Yep.
he is one of those epitomes of a guy who's turned it around. You know what I mean? And, Milton, I kind of wanted to dig into that a little bit with you for a second. I'd love for you to tell us, how things were going, this time last year almost, if you will, and now how things are going currently. Love to hear your story on how you've turned it around.
So about a year ago, came in, talked to my wife, and I said, listen, she was stressed about the business. I was stressed about the business. I've always had a dream about opening up my own repair shop. Here in the area, I've seen a lot of just not very good service to our customers and to different people. I would hear horror stories from friends that went to different repair shops. And I've always heard this quote: if you find a problem and you find a solution, the world will pay you for it. So I wanted to find a solution to that problem. So we opened up Honest Auto, and they always say the first 3 to 5 years of business are the hardest. And we're approaching our second year, or we were a year ago. And I said, you know what? This is a lot harder than I thought it was. I didn't go to no college for business management, didn't have any skills, didn't understand the numbers to anything. All I knew was how to work on cars and take care of customers. And didn't have was try to we were struggling to find good help. Didn't have a good interview process. The people that we had helping us out, they're great people, and I owe them a lot for helping us. But they ended up finding bigger and better opportunities. And I told the wife, I said, things don't turn around in a year. We're selling the business. I said, I'll find something else. We had our daughter at the time, she was about a year and a half, and my wife was, it seemed like we entered in our marriage like a roommate phase. It was just getting up, going to work, coming home, sleeping, getting up, going to work. And it was taking a toll on our marriage. And I was like, I don't want this business to intervene with our marriage and divide us. I said, we're going to give it one more year. Well, then we had O'Reilly's coming to the shop, and they talked to us about Drive. And they're like, hey, we want to sell you guys a shop business analysis. And we took a leap of faith. And since then, I think it took about 6 months or sooner to see a positive impact. But now a year later, we've turned everything around. I know what I need to do to help the business grow. And long story short, we're not needing to sell the business.
Beautiful.
That is fantastic. Speaking of your daughter, there's a little bit of a different news in the Rodriguez household, isn't there?
There is. We had our second daughter, Malia, a week ago, yesterday, and she
Congrats.
made her. Thank you. She's
Congratulations.
being healthy. Our older daughter's adjusting well. She's not getting jealous, so we're super excited about that. So hopefully one day we'll have them start helping out the shop, maybe advertising, and
Well, we'll
That's
I'm
we'll, we'll
hoping.
stick with the first step of her getting used to that. Not all the focus is on her, right?
That's the truth. That's the truth. My dream is another dream is be able to build a nice shop truck and pull a trailer in a parade and have the wife and the kids throwing candy out. It's like
that'll
that'd be
be
fun.
great. Do you guys
That's
have a pretty big
fantastic.
parade every year or so? Like you have a Christmas parade or some kind of parade?
Yeah, they do a Fourth of July parade. They do a Christmas parade, and I think they do another one. But there's always Morristown's really good about engaging with their community, and that's one of the reasons why we moved to Morristown. And it's really good for the locals and also different business owners to be able to get out, get in the community, and get to know their community.
Very cool.
That is fantastic.
Now, I always want to hear about any possible workshops you may have done with Drive, and how the training side with, going in with a group of other like-minded shop owners and employees of shops into a group setting, in like a workshop setting, how that's been. And I heard that you took the Essentials of Shop Management workshop again. You did it once before, back I think in October, maybe September of last year, and then you retook it again this time. How did that go?
It went great. The first time I took it, it was over the weekend and learned a lot. Had the time to sit down in front of the computer the whole time. Definitely a lot of information, and that's why I wanted to take it twice. Now,
Right.
the second go round, it was about a few weeks before the wife was supposed to go into labor, and I remember I told Deanna, I said, "Hey, I'm gonna have to set my iPad up and just kind of work because I got to get a lot of stuff done." The wife was trying to go into labor on Thursday. I told her, I said, "No, you're trying to have this baby." I said, "Just give me a few more days, please." And our plan was to induce labor a few weeks early and then be back to work on Monday, just because we've been running really, really behind, but that didn't go as planned. So the next week, the second part of the workshop I missed just where I was so busy with the shop. So I'm probably going to take it a third time. That way I can retain as much information. The thing that I love about the most with Drive is that sometimes you sign up for a workshop that focuses on one topic, and next thing we know, you have different business owners from all over America chiming in, talking about solutions that they found. And it's really nice to be able to hear those different stories so that it helps me apply those to my business to help it grow. And it's very well organized. What I love about it the most is they let us have a booklet and we can go back and review notes. And every time, even if it's the second or third time I've taken a class through Drive, I always learn something new.
That's awesome. And then we always have the philosophy that when you take it the first time, your attention is on certain things that need to be handled, and that's what you pull from the workshop, and you don't necessarily remember everything that's in the workshop. And the next time you take it, then there are different problems, and then and like I've had clients who go, I did you add this section like from the last time? And you're like, no, it was there, but it makes sense because you're thinking with the problems you're trying to solve. And so you attach yourself, find the information that'll fix those problems, and you kind of forget about the other stuff. And then you have new problems. And so then you get new information. And speaking of like that peer to peer, like being able to have conversations, that's why we call them workshops and not classes or lectures. They're workshops where you work, you brainstorm with other shop owners and clients. And speaking of which, we have Mark Granum of Mobile Mark watching, and he wanted to say hi. And then Jonathan Cowden is also watching. So you may have had some of them in some of the workshops you've been in. So I'm glad to hear
Yep.
that. Mhm.
Jonathan Cowden, I actually went to high school with him. he,
Oh, that's
he was
great.
part of my, I guess, my career journey when I was working on cars out of my mom and dad's basement.
Nice.
I remember packing my car up with tools and jacks and jack stands and going to different people's houses. And there was one time, I'll never forget this story. He had a BMW he bought and it caught fire on his way home after buying it from a little squirrel's nest. So I went to his house. We were repairing some burnt wires, and it was rainy, it was cold, and I've got a lot of cool stories with Jonathan. He's a great guy.
Very good. And and does he have his own shop, or is he a mobile mechanic, or what's the story there?
So I know he was in the National Guard last time I spoke with him. He's a car enthusiast, loved cars, and he just always supported my journey and always brought me business and sent me business. But I'm not too sure what he's been into nowadays.
Oh, well, I'm glad he's watching. So that's
Awesome.
awesome.
That's
Very
awesome.
cool. Very cool.
Interestingly, Milton, you know, I was thinking about some of the stuff that we go over today, and you know what, I wanted to ask you for a question because I'd love to know your insight on this, is what were the biggest challenges that you faced when you thought you were gonna have to close the shop down, and how did you prioritize what to fix first?
So the first thing was a lot of disorganization. We had at the time, it was between 3 or 4 guys working with us, a little bit of mix of full time and part time, but it wasn't very, very productive. It was more like, hey, let's show up to work and just kind of hang out and get stuff done. And this was the hardest lesson I had to learn was separating um, friendship from business and realizing, hey guys, we're here to work, but I know we want to all have a good time, but at the same time, we've got to make sure that we're taking care of our customers' vehicles and things are getting done in a timely manner. So being able to get organized, I remember we used to not do um, digital vehicle inspections. I used to do inspections when I worked at Firestone at the start of my career. And there was always I guess that uh, stigma. Customers come in, I just want an oil change. Don't talk to me about my brakes. Don't talk to me about this or that. But so then I was trying to train in my techs, hey, just take care of the customer. If you see something, say something. But then I quickly realized that we were doing a very, very big disservice to our customers by not telling them of the possible upcoming conditions that their vehicle will have. I remember one day there was a vehicle come in, had 2 car seats in the back seat, and it was parked in front of the office as marked ready to go. And I looked at the tires, and they were completely bald. And
Wow.
the
Wow.
tech didn't say nothing to me, and I was like, "Hey, we need to try to see these things." He's like, "Well, do you want me to check it or not? We don't sell tires." I was like, "I know we don't sell tires." I said, "But we got to communicate to the customer." So then I
Yeah,
was talking to Bill, and he said, "Hey, let's create a vehicle inspection. Every vehicle that comes in gets a free vehicle inspection." And he said, "Just present it to the customer as like, hey, we're just letting you know what conditions your vehicle's in, and we want to help take care of you, make sure you and your family's safe. Because the last thing we want is somebody to get in an accident because nobody talked to them about their tires or brakes." So that was the big first change that we had to do. And at first, it felt like, man, this is slowing us down. How am I supposed to get caught back up? Now we've got to do inspections. But we learned how to work around that. And then I would say within a month or two, we started seeing the fruit of our labor. And it was like, okay, now we're able to get a whole lot more jobs that are coming in because now the customer was like, well, you know what? I didn't know that was going on. Go ahead and fix it.
Hmm.
And then
yeah.
now
Yep.
I'm having conversations with customers like, whoa, you've been taking your vehicle where? And they haven't been telling you about these other issues.
Beautiful.
So it's a very big turnaround. I think it's all about how you present it. I remember we had a customer come in. He said, "Man, I wanted to punch I'm not going to say the shop or which place it was. He's, I wanted to punch that service advisor in the mouth. He was talking to me so rude and this and I was like, they don't take care of their customers. You know, it's like
Yeah.
we always like to talk to our customers, let them know, hey, we care about them because we genuinely do. You know,
That's
I don't want to hear about something happening after it left my shop that could have been avoided by a simple inspection.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that I find interesting is that if you tell them that something is needs to be looked at, or this is, hey, this is kind of war, it's not, it might last a little longer, but you got to get it looked at or whatever, people are just going to listen to you because they consider you like an authority on the automobile. And they go, okay, well, I guess we need to fix that. But if you don't say anything and in a week it breaks, then all of a sudden they're saying, what'd you do to my car?
Yep.
Yes,
I
definitely. I
agree.
had a friend of mine, he took his car somewhere and he had a similar story. He said, man, he's like, they sabotaged my car. And I was like, brother, I was like, you drive a 30-year-old vehicle.
And
You
nobody needs to
probably had
sabotage it.
these
It
issues. I was
sabotaged
like,
itself.
they just didn't do a good inspection. Now they look like the bad guy.
Right. And then it's a natural tendency for people to think that you must have done something. But if you let them know, then they can make a choice. And sometimes it can wait. Like, well, you need to know this will probably be okay till the oil change or whatever. You don't have to hard sell people, especially when they're kind of new. but just making them aware of it, And I remember took my car to a place here right during COVID, and I hadn't had it looked at in a long time. I kind of neglected it a little bit when I was driving it in LA. And they did a whole inspection on. They did a good job on that. They did an inspection, but boy, you could hear it in the service advisor's voice because he got it up to around $1,000 of work that needed to be done when I took it in there to have one thing fixed, and he was almost embarrassed. And I just said, "Dude, I knew that it was going to be this because I knew that there were all these things that little things that needed to be fixed. Just I'll pay you, you know." And
Yeah.
and he did everything, but you could almost feel it because he didn't have that sales training to be able to be confident and say, hey, look, these are all the things that need to be handled. And that's another thing. Have you gotten anything out of the action coaching workshops or any of the other workshops that have to do with direct service advisor sales techniques at all? Because yeah,
I
go on.
definitely have. They've definitely taught me how to present stuff and talk to the customer. Because I used to be that service advisor. I remember when I was at the shop I worked at before here, real small shop. So I was often doing tech work, selling the job. And I remember first time I saw a ticket get over like $1,500, I was shaking. I was like, I can't sell this job. And then now, $1,500 is nothing because a lot of times, like you said, customers, they know, like, hey, I did neglect the vehicle and I did notice a couple other things I was expecting it needed some of these jobs. So those action workshops definitely has helped me be able to kind of put the rubber on the road, put the money where the mouth is, and actually apply what you're learning versus just sitting through a class and listening.
Yeah.
Very effective, and it definitely helps. And if I had to leave a review at our shop, I really think that the first 2 years would have been like really bad. Now, I think our review would be a whole lot better because Drive has taught me how to communicate with their customers, how to take care of our customers a whole lot more, and how to handle and overcome certain situations. You always have that one customer that comes in and the mechanic is kind of like that kid going to the dentist. I hate being here. I don't want to go here. And they've taught us to be able to teach the customer and help them realize that it can be an enjoyable experience, not just something they dread.
Right now, do you do all of the service writing right now, and then you have text in the back? Because I wasn't. Tell me
So
again what your personnel lineup is, please.
So right now, we just hired a service advisor. His name Anthony Stone. He started with me about a month and a half ago. For the first little bit, he was doing part time while he was finishing up his other job. And then I've got another technician, and then it's just me.
Okay.
So I do a little bit of both teching and service advising. I'd say right now he's doing about 75 to 80% of all ticket writing, and then I'll kind of review his stuff. And then it's funny because he's like, "What now? What did I do wrong?" I was like, "Nothing." I said, "It's okay." I'm gonna pick on him. He's probably gonna smack me when I get back in the office. A few, and I talked to him. I said, "Listen." I said, I know sometimes the labor guide calls for a certain amount of labor for a job. I said, but sometimes we got to be smarter. And he wrote up a ticket for a cabin air filter, and I go to review it. It was $120 for a cabin filter. And I said, Anthony, I said, nobody's going to buy this. I said, usually cabin air filters, we're checking it during the inspection. We're not going to charge labor to go back together with it. So just charge them for the filter. And he's like, oh, you're always messing up my writing. And I said, it's okay. I said, just relax. Bill had a good kick out of that one.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I remember when you told me that. That was interesting. Like, no,
um,
$120. No,
yeah,
nobody's
but
paying that. That's almost a
and
brake job price.
yeah, and he's very ambitious to learn, and he's very good with talking with our customers and all that. So the few days that I was out of the office taking care of the baby and my wife in the hospital, he took care of things very well. So we didn't have to close the shop down.
Well, that's wonderful, and that's also a nice test too. As you begin to get the health of the shop better and better, one of the best ways to see how it's going is to just pull yourself out entirely. You don't have to go to like around the world or something, but you just get out of there and see what they do. And if you're gone for about 3 days, like take a long weekend or something, take a couple days off during the week and you're not there and everything works smoothly, you know that the systems are going in and the systems are going into place where you're moving to a place where you're going to be able to run the shop up. It'll be operational and you won't have to be handling every problem or handling every situation. So how were those days that you were off? Did the shop run pretty smoothly?
They ran pretty smoothly. They were able to get a few jobs sold and a few jobs completed, and they went pretty well. We had a couple customers leave some good reviews, so that's always a good sign.
It is.
And that's always nice that whenever I can come back and see some new reviews, some good faces. And the cool thing is like once we started getting Anthony in there, it seems like we're averaging about maybe 2 or 3 new customers a week. And
Yes.
one thing I like about that
Very cool.
is, and I told him, I said, don't get upset. It's going to happen because it happened to me whenever I was working at the previous shop. Customers are going to call, you're going to answer the phone. They're going to say, I want to talk to Milton. Try
Hmm.
to engage them and try to take care of them. But if they keep saying, hey, I want to talk to Milton, just hand the phone over to me. But now we have those new customers, their first impression with Honest Auto was Anthony. It makes it a whole lot easier on me, so I can stay in the back turning wrenches, and he can take care of the customers, which he does a really good job at doing.
That's awesome. Now, one of the things I'll say just quickly is when you have a lot of customers who expect to talk to you, I recommend you still talk to them, but
Definitely.
but you don't sell them. You say, how's it going? And then you introduce them to your new service advisor. Hey, I've trained this guy. He's doing this for me now. Make yourself available to your customers who want to talk to you. But it's really what you're doing is you're acting as the owner at that point and you're just
Yeah.
being the owner. And then you just go, hey, I want you to meet Anthony. He's my new guy. He's the guy. I trust him. And then you transition all of those guys who want to talk to you to Anthony. And that works very smoothly. Oh, by the way, Jonathan Starkey's watching and Ron Parrish is watching. So
Hey, John.
that's exciting. And I actually think it's just about time for a commercial break. Bill, you want to
It
tell the world
is.
what's going on?
It is next week. We're going to have a really interesting program happening. We're going to interview Todd Zern. He runs our owner to owner group that we have weekly. And he's going to have his guest is going to be Jimmy Holman. And he's going to start to touch upon what the group consists of, what they do and all that sort of thing. Kind of like what Milton was talking about a few minutes ago. You know, you get your best information when you have owners talking to each other. So when you have that round table that he does every week, it really helps. So it'll be interesting to talk to Todd about that. See Jimmy, talk to him about Earnhardt's collision. Be a great show next week.
It's awesome. And then we also have another thing happening this year, right?
Yeah.
What else is going on, Bill?
Expo time, my friend. It's going to be Expo. And guess what? We're back in Vegas again, baby. We're going to be at the Westgate again, just like last year, September 24th through the 26th. It's going to be real interesting. And kind of like what we are just saying, we'll have a few of the automotive roundtables. One will be for general repair, one will be for body shop, one will be for truck. It'll be real great.
Yep. And you can go to driveshops.com and there should be a link in the chat as well for anybody who's watching to be able to go and register for the expo. And also you have an opportunity there to book your room, which is sooner you book the room, the better. And we have a block at the Westgate, which is a better rate for our expo. So there is a finite number of rooms under that rate. So the sooner you book that room, the sooner you'll get a cheaper rate. Milton, are
And
you going to
actually,
the
we
expo?
have the QR code right on our backdrops right now. Also, you can
Right.
just scan it
I have
and
to
click it.
scoot over a little bit though, so you can get it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, move the left
Move
arm
it.
a little.
There you go. Very nice. So, Milton, will you be at the expo this year?
I will. I'm trying to convince my wife to go. She's not a huge fan of flying, and I don't think we have the time to make a road trip. But
Yeah,
so
that's
I
a
told her,
Not from Tennessee. Oh,
I said, we need to sedate you, get you on the plane. We'll see what we can do. I'm trying to butter her up. I said, hey, they got spas, they got nice pools. I said, we can get mom and dad to watch the girls. We'll have a weekend just us and hang out.
great shows too. You can see shows in Vegas, and it's funny because been to Vegas now. I think we've been twice, I believe, and both times while we were there, um, what's his name? I've already forgotten.
Barry Manilow?
Barry Manilow is there both times.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, so I'm thinking, are we just fans of Barry Manilow? We're looking at the calendar. Barry Manilow's going
Well,
to be at the Westgate
yeah,
that
we,
weekend. We should make sure our expo is on that
we
weekend.
could be a little bit of creepers there with Barry Manilow. We're not sure yet.
Oh, that's awesome. So anyway, um, so do you have well, I was going to ask this. How are your numbers like percentage wise as far as your expansion? Like, how have you grown over the last year?
So definitely a night and day difference. And if you would have asked me a year ago, what's GP percentage, I'd be like, what? Now I can tell you all about it. Gross
Nice.
profit percentage, as we all know, you can make $100,000 a year, but if $90,000 of that was cost, you didn't make much money. And a year ago, our GP average for last year was like 33%, which is really bad. That's why things weren't going as well as they needed to be. This year, I think our average for the year is about 58%. Last month, we did about 61, and our goal for this whole year is about 65% GP. So that right there is enough evidence to say, hey, we've turned it around. We're not where we want to be, but we're definitely marching in the right direction.
Yep.
Definitely.
Very cool.
I would love to ask, now that you say it that way, a question's popped in my head, if you don't mind me asking. What was the specific point that you felt everything turning around and you said to yourself, you know what? This is going to work.
I would say, I want to say around last September, going into the fall, things started to feel a whole lot better. After paying a few bills and paying parts, it was like, hey, there's still money left over. So we must be doing something right. Going into the holidays, our numbers dipped real bad. Nobody was wanting to spend money. Um, and then I think end of January, our confidence was a whole lot higher because it was the beginning of the year and we still had business coming in, things were going well, and it was really nice.
Hey, there's one other thing we forgot about during the break, Bill. We forgot about the webinar coming up on April 29th. You want to tell the folks about that?
Um, yes. Is that the one with Phil?
Yeah, Phil. Mhm.
Yes. Phil's going to be going over some of the marketing stuff and some of the new things. He's got some exciting products and he's going to be doing that with the webinar with him, and will be doing that together. And that's going to be super interesting. He was talking to us about that the other day, and there's some marketing products out there that are going to be super exciting and they're going to be a game changer. So
That's
April
awesome.
29th. Yes, sir.
Very good. Okay. And then, of course, John Krieger is watching. I hope I pronounced his name right. And anything else, Milton, you want to talk about? Tell me a little
Um,
bit about the town, a little more about the town. Is there like, do you have like a giant ball of wax or something? One of those, like, or like a giant spoon or something?
Big
Like,
ball of rubber bands.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
no, nothing too crazy that I can think of, which my wife and I, we've lived in Morristown for about 5 years. The cool thing that I like the most about Morristown, we have a chambers of commerce, and they're always working on bringing more businesses in. But I don't think we have, and I could be wrong, but I don't think we have anything that just points people right to Morristown. We do have a small airport though, and oh, this just came to my mind. Supposedly, I don't know how true this is because I'm not a local, but on the way to the shop on the left-hand side, there's a huge mansion. And rumor has it, some people may be able to fact check and tell me it's true, but rumor has it that Harrison Ford designed that house, and that was his house. And apparently, I think his grandmother lives down Kidwell Ridge Road, which is the road that the shop's on. So, haven't met
oh,
him, haven't met her, but maybe one day, if it is true, maybe one day I can work on her car. We'll
That
see.
would be great. Because yeah,
right.
he
Yeah.
was a carpenter. He when he got out of the film industry for a couple of years, he was a carpenter.
He's a
So
Oh
pilot
yeah.
also, actually.
yeah, that's very good.
So
We
we've
should get
had
him on the show.
Apparently, flying into that airport, there's been a lot of famous people. There's a few Rusty Wallace dealerships in town, and Rusty Wallace has been to Moorestown.
Oh, Rusty
Um,
Wallace. Yeah.
so that's pretty sweet.
Well, plus,
Very cool.
Harrison used to fly the Millennial Falcon anyway, so he knows what he's doing.
He's a pretty good pilot. Like, you made the Kessel run in under 5 parsecs or whatever the line is.
That's right. Yeah, he
Okay,
knows what he's doing.
So anyway, it looks like we're at the end of the show, folks. Thanks again, Milton, for being on the show. We really appreciate having you.
Yeah, it was
Thank y'all for
fantastic. It was a
having me.
treat.
And for everybody out in the audience, I want to just say thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And until next week, we are out of here.
Thanks.